Whew, okay, well, it is 12 p.m. right now, a little bit over 12, and I just got back from the special preview advanced screenings of Wonder Woman 1984, and yeah, just got back, and now I am here to talk about my thoughts on that movie. Now, this will be my last movie review of this year, 2020. Yeah, it's been a crazy and a hectic year, and a really bad year, a really shit year for movies. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, this time last year, I was reviewing Jumanji, The Next Level, and preparing to go to my trip in Southeast Asia. It's been a while, and it's been a really weird journey. But yeah, I hope everyone has a happy New Year's and a Merry Christmas, despite all these uncertain circumstances. But I won't get into that now. Before I get started, though, I just want to say, at this point, I should be making my top movies list for 2020. But I mean, there's a lack of movies to make that list with, since the only movies that I watched this year were the movies that I reviewed on this channel, which is around 14 or something. Yeah, around 14. I don't know the exact number, but that's legit all the movies that I watched this whole year, and it's crazy to think about it like that. Like, that's like what, 5 times less than the movies that I normally would see at the cinemas. And yeah, even though I was at home the whole time, I didn't even watch any movies like just at home for some reason. Oh, but I did watch The Joker again and Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. But that's basically it. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the review. Now, Wonder Woman 1984 is the second Wonder Woman movie, after following the first one that came out back in 2017, which I recently reviewed on this channel as well. Very recently, actually. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, just to get hyped for this movie. But yeah, so basically, the movie is set in the 1980s, a very sleek and hip era where Diana Prince is living very quietly and maintains a rather low profile for the most part, only showing up as Wonder Woman when she really needs to. But soon, Diana will have to save the world as she learns that there's this mysterious rock that can grant a wish to anyone, but at a cost. And this rock finds herself squaring up against the power-hungry businessman Maxwell Lord and the superhuman villainess, the Cheetah. Now, I'm going to admit that I have not really read any DC comics, so I can't really talk about the film from that perspective. But what I will say is that this movie, some of the choices that the movie makes and the direction that it takes, I just didn't really like that much. I'm not going to go into it, of course, just because of spoilers. But yeah, I don't know if that's because it's based off the comics heavily or not. But yeah, I mean, feel free to tell me if it is, just to clear things up a bit. But basically, I was right. I said so 2 days ago, and I'm going to say it again today. This movie didn't live up to the first one, but I'll get to that in a second. And that's not to say that this movie was just not good. I still enjoyed it, but like I said, the direction this movie takes sometimes, it's definitely not one that I like very much. Now, this movie is a lot more lighthearted. It's not as dark or as any of the other, most of the DC movies, and also as the first one, compared to the first one as well. And there's a big emphasis on 1984, or the 1980s, I should say, because like everywhere you see the environment, everything, it just mimics just how it was like back then, like the diners, the clothing that people wore, the TVs, the computers and everything. There's a big emphasis on like, boom, that era, 1980s, and that was pretty cool seeing that. Again, this movie, following the footsteps of the first movie, is pretty slow paced for the most part. For like the first half of the movie. And at one point, I just thought like there was not enough Wonder Woman. At one point, it just felt like your average action movie chase scene. Although that might be due to the fact that it just shows that Diana's kind of been in hiding, kind of be undercover, and not really been shown as Wonder Woman, and only appears when she really needs to. And we do get hints of that throughout the movie, which is fine. But like at one point, I was like, "Come on, I want to see Wonder Woman. It's been so long since something action oriented has happened on the screen." And right when I thought that, while I was watching, on came a really big, like, extended long car truck chase scene that was fucking awesome. And just Wonder Woman leaping into the air, and those action scenes were really exhilarating. And I like that a lot. Again, Gal Gadot is just amazing in this movie, similar to the first one. You could really see and capture all her emotions, like you could see quite clearly and feel at the same time like what she's going through. She just performs so well. Same with Chris Pine. In fact, I thought Chris Pine did a better job in this one than the first one, but that just might be me. I mean, but honestly though, like I don't know if it's a spoiler revealing how he comes back, but I do have some reservations in terms of that. Which I'll get to in a second. But when Chris Pine came back, this time he filled the role of what Wonder Woman was going through in the first movie, you know, like being like put in the unknown territory and not knowing what the hell was going on. And his performance was really good in that regards. You know, like he's just like, this time he's the one who's like, what's that? Holy like what does that mean? Like being completely clueless, and I love that. Moving on to the villains. Now, Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva, later known as the Cheetah, was just fucking awesome. I mean, her whole performance, like, we got to see her entire character arc, like, evolve throughout the whole movie. Like, at first, in the beginning, she was this very timid, unpopular girl, always getting picked on, and we can see that. And then later, she becomes this very strong. We can see her like personality change from being very weak to being very strong, and we can see exactly her motives behind why she is trying to stop Wonder Woman from stopping Maxwell Lord, which is the brains of the group, I should say, or the team. Listen, Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, he was pretty good too. He was good. I enjoyed his performance, but the problem is none of these villains made me hate their guts that much. And I have the same like kind of feeling as I do towards the first movie as well. The thing I didn't like about the first movie was that the villains just didn't feel that strong. I mean, I enjoyed Ares. I thought he was a wonderful like villain, but for the most part, he was just hidden in the shadows for a while. And in Wonder Woman 1984, none of these two villains like made me hate their guts that much. And I feel like maybe it's just me. Let me know what you think, but I think a good villain is someone that makes me hate them very much, you know. But in this movie, both villains, you kind of feel for them in some regards. Like they both have their kind of emotional touching kind of scenes in this movie, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, you know, like I said, I like a villain who is just very, very powerful, very strong, and just is really this little bitch that I just want to punch in myself. But in this movie, we don't get to see that. In fact, I kind of wish that this movie had a god as well that Wonder Woman would fight, quite similar to the first one. What made the first one special was because that end battle against Ares was just fucking awesome. Like, that was just amazing. I enjoyed it a lot. And that supernatural kind of, that big, like, superhero kind of vibe, like, you know, like, it's just what I felt Wonder Woman 1984 was missing in a way. Now, there are references to a god in this movie, and that was great and all, but I kind of, one part of me wanted, like, something like that, like, for something big to just show up in the end, like something hidden, just like the first one, and just surprise and just amaze us, because that would have been awesome, and made this movie a lot better, in my opinion. But we just didn't get to see that. But, like, rather than being a very big superhero movie, this movie, it teaches us a lesson. I'm not going to say what that lesson is, but it's similar to the first one. Like, the first one taught us a lesson as well, and it had a deeper meaning hidden within it. In this movie, it's the same. Now, with what I was talking about before, the whole thing about Chris Pine coming back and all, I think is awesome in this movie. But the problem is, like, I have some reservations in terms of him coming back as Steve Trevor, because it just doesn't, I mean, it makes sense, like, if you finish watching the movie, but I just don't like I'm not a big fan of the plot, and I don't know if this is gonna count as minor spoilers or spoilers in general. So if you haven't watched the movie, then don't watch this part. Go on and head to the cinemas to watch this movie yourself. But basically the emphasis behind this movie is on this rock, this gemstone, which, you know, like I said before, grants a wish to anyone who says, I wish. So it's basically like the genie. And the problem with this is that we've seen this time and time again in a lot of, like, other, like, stuff, you know. And it's the concept, it's very limitless. Like, you can do almost anything with it, and it's just not very unique. I mean, like, why couldn't one woman just wish that all of this could just be erased, you know? Like, why couldn't she wish that? She could have wished a lot of things. But I do know that the whole idea of this movie is to not wish anything, because something bad happens in return or something like that. But, like, I mean, listen, it just, see what I'm getting at? It's just, like, the amount of stuff that you can come up with this is just limitless. Like, you could do almost anything with it, and that I just don't like. But I do like where the movie was heading, but the direction that it takes towards the end of the film it just fell flat for me, unfortunately. Although I do have to say, the build-up for this movie was just amazing. And there were some pretty emotional and intense scenes, which I enjoyed as well. And it's quite similar in the first one. It's very slow-paced, but then it just keeps spiraling and spiraling out of control. But then the ending kind of fell flat. That's basically what I thought about the movie. The action, you know, when it was there, it was great. It was awesome. The slow-mo, the score, you know, quite similar to the first one. It was amazing. But, I mean, come on. You kind of expect that from a movie like this. This movie was good. I had a good time with it. It was decent. Overall, not as good as the first one. I did come into this with high expectations, though. I wouldn't say I was let down, though, but I will say the movie, like I said, it kind of fell flat towards the end. I'm going to give Wonder Woman 1984 a B+. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think about the movie down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed, and also feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.